यशस्सुप्तेषु जागृति यशस्सुप्तेषु जागृति कामं 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 कामुषो पुरुषो निर्विमानः निर्विमानः तदेव शुक्रं ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः युतः सर्वतदूनादिविकश्च यतद्वैतं 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 यतद्वैतं
Good afternoon to all the members who are watching this CP teleconferencing program. There is a slight change in the topic today. Earlier the topic announced was XBRL and fair value based accounting, but due to some unavoidable circumstances, the faculty CA B Shekhijar could not make it convenient to come here. So we have changed the topic to XBRL and revised schedule 6. Kindly bear with us. Today, to deliberate upon the topic, we have with us C.A. Chinnaswamy Ganeshan from Chennai. I will request him to address the session.
Thank you, Mr. Bansalji. Good afternoon, friends who are watching this CP teleconference on XBRL and revised schedule 6. It gives me immense pleasure to address all of you on this very important topic and a current topic. And I must thank the CPE committee, especially the chairman, Sri C.A. Devaraj Reddy, for having selected such an important topic, which is of current use for all the practicing chartered accountants as well as the members in industry, because everything now goes as a filing in e-format. And when we are talking about extensible business reporting language, and XBRL plays a vital role on every e-filing which we are supposed to do under the aegis of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So what we have actually structured in this entire discussion is basically to give you an retrospect of what is XBRL and how it has actually evolved over the period of time, and how the XBRL worldwide has happened, and what is the Indian perspective of XBRL, what are all the key concepts as a practicing chartered accountant we should be aware of, and how XBRL works in a very, very simplistic format rather than talking in very technical format, and what is the professional opportunity we have as chartered accountants. That's what we will be looking at during this entire presentation. We will specifically touch upon some of the important aspects of the guidance note issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India when a chartered accountant is actually performing his attest function for certifying the XBRL statements before filing it to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So this is the broad understanding of the entire session. Let me take you through the slides one after another. If you see the slide here, XBRL is not an initiative of big corporates, or it's not a big organization which has started, but it's a brainchild of one single individual public accountant from Washington who has actually conceptualized the entire idea of XBRL. And this has been, he had nearly 13 sponsoring companies which helped him in the process. Now, if you see the way in which XBRL has started and how it has actually reached the stage, you will be amazed, because now whatever e-format we are talking about, whatever filing which we are talking about worldwide, people are actually looking in for XBRL format. And slowly it is also having an impact in Indian scenario. Let me just give you an idea about what are all the major uses which you can perceive when we are talking about XBRL. See, if I'm talking about my language or I'm talking about your language, so maybe you will be knowing what I'm talking about unless you you actually understood my language. See, if I'm talking on, say for example, in my mother language of Tamil and you are talking on Hindi, and both of us doesn't know the other person's language, it may not be possible for communicating in a presentable, in a reasonable manner. So what we are actually looking in a scenario where we are talking about a business reporting language, if I am talking about a paper format in which I have presented a PDF format financial statement for filing with the department, whereas the volume of data which is being handled by the department and which is being used for the purpose of doing a lot of analytical work with the data, it becomes more and more complex. I can give you a small data of around 60,000 to 30,000 pages of PDF files which has been regularly uploaded in the websites of one single register of companies website. Just imagine how the ministry can actually aggregate this data for the purpose of doing any analytical purposes. So what they planned is what the paper format will be replaced by a machine understandable format. That is what we are talking about, an XBRL format. So when we are talking about an XBRL format, the data which is there in the paper format is simply understood in a machine language, and when it is uploaded into the MCA's filing or any other regulatory websites, the regulators can actually make use of that format for the purpose of doing a lot of analytical work. Comparative analysis can be done between companies to companies, industry to industry, sector to sector. All this is possible when we are actually trying to do the aspect of XBRL format. That's the first and foremost advantage of being XBRL format filing. The transparency, when we are talking about the transparency, when the voluminous data is being presented and nobody can actually aggregate the data and get a conclusion. Whereas if the system can actually do an analysis using its machine language and its interpretation by means of the algorithms which is inbuilt in the XBRL language. So what will happen is that the thousands and thousands of data can be very easily processed, and this will be actually helpful for the people to understand and make a lot of comparisons. That's the and another thing is it's an efficient and easy way of transferring data from one place to another place. And as I have said that the analysis will be very quick, and it's a easy analysis, understandable analysis, and useful analysis could be possible. Just to have an idea of how XBRL worldwide is happening, just have an idea of almost it started with one particular individual's aspect, his brainchild, but slowly the way in which the world has adopted XBRL over the period of time is that you can see that almost every country in the world is now looking towards the use of XBRL format. Just to give an idea about what are all the countries which is actually using or may have made this as an important aspect, that it's made mandatory for the filing of the financial statement and the other documents in XBRL format in worldwide. You can have an idea of, for example, China, Israel, Japan, USA, Singapore, Korea, Italy, Belgium. Everything has made this as mandatory for using XBRL format for the purpose of filing with the regulatory authorities. And now, from 2011 onwards, India has also taken its first step to have the filing of financial statement with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs in XBRL format. Of course, we have not started to make that as applicable to every company which has been registered with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Like the plan for implementation of IFRS, this also we started doing it in a paced manner. We will actually look into what is the companies which are covered when they are filing the XBRL format. It's mandatory for filing the XBRL format in MCA website. As of now, we will actually see in these in some of the slides which is coming subsequent to this filing. If you see how XBRL works, traditionally we have financial statement which is actually in paper format, maybe in PDF format, maybe in Excel format, maybe in Word format, and it may be in any other format. But what is happening is this traditional financial statements are actually tagged to a item called taxonomy. When I'm saying taxonomy, taxonomy is nothing but it's like a dictionary of various tags. We will just see how taxonomy can be understood in a very easy manner. Actually, taxonomy, when we are talking about every line item in the financial statement, which is in the physical format or maybe in the paper format, the traditional financial statement line items are converted or tagged into the machine readable format using taxonomy. And the after it has been converted or it has been tagged to taxonomy, another tool which has been used to generate a document which we call as XBRL instance document. This XBRL instance document is the document, like I can just draw a parallel to you, like when we are doing the e-return filing under the income tax website. When we are actually doing this e-return, we normally have our filled the e-return format, and then we have a validation tool, and the validation tool converts that into an XML file. That XML file is what we are actually talking about, the instant documentation. That instant document is validated again using a tool which is available at the regulator site. For example, in our case, MCA is having a validation tool. After having validated this position, what happens is this is again uploaded into the regulator's website. In simple terms, I can say that uploading is nothing but e-filing of this format with the regulator. So once this filing has been done, all the data which is available with the regulator is now in machine readable language. So every line item, for example, if I am talking about cost of sales of one company which is in, say, automotive sector, and similarly all the companies in the automotive sector, they have actually tagged the cost of sales in the taxonomy which is provided in the XBRL taxonomy, and when the analysis has to be done by the regulator, simply if a cost of sales which has been actually incurred by all the automotive industries in a particular area, if information is required, it's very easy for collecting that information from the system. That's the biggest advantage of XBRL format. That's the idea of introducing the XBRL format and replacing the traditional financial statement from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. That's the step towards that. And when we are talking about that particular aspect, it's very important to know how actually the key concepts which we should actually understand. The first concept is what we are talking about is the taxonomy. Taxonomy, I can give you a small parallel, but don't take that as the exhaustive parallel. It's I'm putting it in a very simple terms. Taxonomy is nothing but, like if I'm taking a case of you prepare, I assume that you are preparing the financial statement of a client as an outsourced accounting function, and the client is actually using Tally accounting package. And in Tally accounting package, when the opening balances are incorporated, what we normally do, we take the previous year's financial statement, take the balance sheet, and for example, in share capital, and share capital might have been contributed by, say, for example, 10 shareholders, and I wanted to keep track of the 10 shareholders in my financial statement. So what I used to do was I create an account, share capital by shareholder A, shareholder B, shareholder C. it's very easy for creating an account, but the accounting software actually asks me to tag this particular item to an existing chart of account or a group of account. For example, in Tally accounting software, this share capital contributed by shareholder A will be tagged to a head called share capital. And in that share capital, I will be having subgrouping of various shareholders' contribution. The same way, the main grouping or the list of items which is there, or the dictionary of all the tags or all the codes, is what we are calling as taxonomy. So the second concept which we are talking about is the tagging. So we will also have a detailed look on what is taxonomy at a later slide. Tagging is that, as I have mentioned, that I have one share capital contributed by one shareholder, and that has to be tagged with respect to a particular group. The same way, if I have one line item in my traditional financial statement, for example revenue, that revenue is actually tagged to what is described as the line item in my taxonomy in XBRL. So that is what is the process called tagging. Tagging is nothing but relating each and every item or mapping each and every line item which I have in my traditional financial statement with what is available in the XBRL taxonomy. Once the tagging has been done, actually a process is being done, and the process is actually giving you what we call it as an instance document. Instant document is nothing but whatever I have converted, or after I have tagged the traditional financial statement, it converted that into a machine readable format. That is what the instant document is. The instant documents is validated and then uploaded as part of the e-filing. Let's just have a quick look of what we are talking about taxonomy. The first thing which I wanted to tell you is that taxonomy is an electronic dictionary of the reporting concepts. When I'm saying electronic dictionary of the reporting concept, don't think that taxonomy is like a separate accounting standard or a separate reporting language. It is not an accounting standard. It is not a replacement to an accounting standard. It actually gives you a concept of the various reporting concepts which is available for a normal financial statement. It's a dictionary of all the items which is there. And then taxonomy are based on the regulatory requirement and the standards which are being followed by the companies. So when I'm saying this, now you will understand that it is not a separate accounting standard, but it is actually built on the requirement of an existing accounting standards, or maybe an existing regulatory requirement. For example, when we are talking about a taxonomy to be filed with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, we are not only talking about balance sheet and profit and loss account or the notes on accounts, which is actually prepared based on the mandatory accounting standard prescribed by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs under the Accounting Standard Rules 2006. But we are also tagging the auditor's report. We are also tagging the director's report. That is also actually getting uploaded into the MCA website. So in other words, what is required under the regulatory framework and what is required under the accounting framework, all those things are actually summarized, based on which a taxonomy or a dictionary has been created for the regulatory reporting concepts. The third important point which I can tell you to understand is, it is a classification listing or categorization of elements of financial and business statements. When we are saying that it is a classification listing or a categorization, whatever we are having in a business statement, I have given two items in my example. Previously I talked about cost of goods sold, and I have also talked about the revenues. Like that, if I am talking about fixed assets, within fixed assets, if I am talking about land and buildings, if I am talking about property, plant and equipment, if I am talking about furniture and fixtures, so every items or every financial statement items will have some sort of relevance with respect to the tagging process, and for that tagging process the entire thing is available in the taxonomy. The fourth see, when we are talking about the taxonomy, not only the numbers, even the text labels and the information about how to display each concept to a user. So when I am saying how to display each concept to the user, you will understand that we are not only talking about the number and just mapping the item to item, but we are also looking and looking as to how it will be presented and disclosed in a user-friendly format. That's the reason why when I am uploading information, I am not just uploading the financial information of balance sheet and profit and loss account. I am also uploading the information relating to the notes on accounts, auditor's report, and director's report. When all those things is being happened, the text information should also be understood by the machine. So there are concepts which is available for that label also, text label also, it is available. So actually, when we are creating the taxonomy, normally we talk about taxonomy in two different perspectives. I think I have a slide on the usage. See, for example, when we are talking about the business reports, see, when we are talking about a business report, for example, in an annual report of a company, whether all the items appearing in the annual report should be tagged, not necessary. So what is required by the regulator, what is actually made mandatory, that is actually getting tagged. When we are actually doing the tagging, what happens is we have a standard taxonomy or standard dictionary which is available, where each and every line item is actually tagged. What happens if I assume, see, for example, in the given case, I am having a different item. There is the impairment of fixed assets which is coming into my financial statement of my client, and that item has to be tagged to the taxonomy. Assuming that this particular line item is not available in the taxonomy, what I am supposed to do is actually to create a additional line item. That is what we are saying is there is a difference between regular tagging. Regular tagging is very simple. You have the list and you have your traditional financial statement line items, each are mapped together. That is what we are talking about, the regular tagging. And we will also be doing another tagging called when all the items which is available in the taxonomy have been mapped, there will be some items which might have been left unmapped. For mapping those items also, we have to do what we call it as an extended tagging or a special tagging. That is what is requiring some sort of technical competence or technical expertise, where it poses a challenge for the practicing chartered accountants, because we are basically an accountant or maybe a taxation person, but all of a sudden, as the saying goes, in a business school, somebody used to say that whenever we are able to understand the lessons, they used to change the syllabus. So we understood what has happened in the particular scenario, and we have prepared a traditional financial statement, and we are understood what is the accounting standard requirement. We have also understood what is the requirement of the regulators. But all of a sudden, if something has to be done on an expert level where it may not be our domain, how we have to actually increase our capability on this? If we are not increasing our capability, whether it will be possible for us to survive in this changing world, where complexity in transactions, complexity in business reporting, and the demands of the users of the financial statements are expanding on a day-to-day basis. That challenge has to be met, and that is the reason why I believe that a conference like this, which actually thought of by the chairman of the CPE committee, Mr. Devaraj Reddy, is very, very important, and it's crucial, because if we are talking about a case where we are talking again and again the accounting standards, which everybody started using it, and we are only talking about the case where taxation matters, which we are knowing on a day-to-day basis. We are actually trying to focus more into the traditional areas and rather than exploring the other possibilities where the profession can actually expand. So the thought of the CPE committee of organizing such a type of programs and such a type of connectivity to the current topics is very, very appreciable point on this. So let's just have a look on how it works. See, for example, I told you that in a very simple way how a tagging happens. So let me take a case of barcode. Before the emergence of barcode, what has happened in the world? So every item has to be picked up, and the person who is billing that particular item has to refer to this particular item in his machine, type it in the machine if system is available, or otherwise he has to memorize from his mind, or if it is not possible he has to refer to a price list, then he has to prepare the billing. All those things were there, but it's a complex environment where the expectations of people are changing every moment. So when to meet out or actually cater to that type of requirement, what is expected is that some sort of additional help by means of technology is required. That help, for example, in the case of tagging for a product, is what a barcode has actually done. As you are seeing in this presentation, if you see that what we have done with respect to a product which has been tagged by means of a barcode for identification purposes is now actually tagged in respect of a XBRL format. It's like in this particular scenario, if you see, the cost of revenue has been tagged like a barcode item. So this is how we are actually doing in a business reporting situation, and how the tagging actually works in a very, very simple manner. Let me just talk about the instance document. So if you see in this particular presentation, you can see that the cost of goods sold of 2.84 million in the company's financial statement is tagged with a tag which is there in the XBRL taxonomy, which is available in the XBRL consortium, and it has been tagged, and that is the result which you are seeing on the screen. And now we are creating from that another document which can be created by the preparer of the financial statement. After this tagging has been done, a document is created. That is what we call it as an instant document, and this instant document is actually readable by the machine, and it is actually available for the regulator to use it whenever they want to do an analytical review at a later point of time, or if they want to make an analysis on a overall company perspective or overall sector perspective, or overall maybe I can say that even on the country as a whole, how the automotive industry is performing. If they wanted to do an analysis, it is possible to do that basis.